Hi, my name is Patty Durell. I'm the CEO of Rock Solid Fitness and a licensed physical therapist assistant. Today I'm bringing to you some education about the evils of momentum. At Rock Solid Fitness, we concentrate on taking the force and making sure that the stress is always on your muscle and not on your joints. We do not want to tear apart joints. We do kind of want to tear apart a muscle, but only in the way that it will rebuild and be stronger. A stronger muscle is a better muscle. It supports your joints. So momentum, if you can think of momentum as you're pushing along a shopping carriage and you're kind of on a little bit of a decline and you let go of that shopping carriage and it just starts to take off on its own. That is momentum. Nobody's pushing it, it's just moving. Now, as that shopping carriage starts to roll and roll and roll, it hits a wall. And as it accelerated into that wall, it had to decelerate. So that deceleration is where the force gets absorbed into the weaker parts of the structure. So if we're lifting weights with momentum and we're throwing resistance around in the gym, when that force comes back to us, that momentous force comes back onto our body, it gets absorbed into the weaker parts of our organism, which is our joints. And the soft tissues that hold our joints together do not like to be stressed. That's what causes an injury. So we always say eliminate momentum. Make sure that every time you start a set or a repetition of an exercise that you start super slow. One of my colleagues gave me a great analogy for how to explain moving resistance around without momentum. And what he said was, imagine that you have to move a Hummer tank out of a ditch. You're not going to go to the top of the ditch and take a running start into this Hummer tank and hit it to try and move it out, because as you run down that ditch and you hit this big machine, you are going to get injured if you do that. But if you go up to the machine and you have a bunch of people lined up and you all just start to push into the machine, into this big Hummer tank, it's either going to move or it's not going to move. But you're not going to get injured trying. If that group of people went up to the top of the ditch and took a running force and ran into it, they might move it, but they probably will get injured in the process. So we don't want to push resistance around in the gym with momentum either, or else we're going to get injured. So we see a lot of people throwing resistance around, like you see on this leg press here, that I'm literally throwing the resistance off of my feet and catching it with my feet. Some people actually train like that because they think that they're producing a more explosive nature in their muscles. In reality, all they're doing is ripping apart their joints. Some people won't go as far as throwing the plate off of their feet. They just move really fast through every exercise, like they're trying to get through their workout instead of getting something out of their workout. But you can see when you take time to really slowly push the resistance around, change direction very slowly, there doesn't look like a lot's going to happen here that would be bad. You're just pushing the resistance around with a slow, controlled, non-momentum form or technique, which is so important. So when you're exercising and you're moving resistance around, hopefully in the gym you're using machines so it's in a nice safe plane of motion. But especially if you're not in the gym and let's say you're moving resistance around in a project that you're doing, you don't want to lift things up with explosive movement, or else again that force is going to be absorbed in your body. So it's important when you're strength training to not use momentum, and it's important when you're not strength training and you're just moving resistance around to not use momentum. Now there are some sports that require momentum or require a force to use momentum, like in golf. You want to smack that ball as hard as you can. You got a lot of force and a lot of momentum going into it. But sports have an element of a risk associated with them. So when we sign up and we're doing sporting activities, yes, there's an element of risk. An exercise program should not have an element of risk. It should be safe, safety first. So no momentum in your workouts. No evils of momentum. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any comments, please comment below. We love to hear from you. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll also find us on LinkedIn.